Good afternoon and welcome to the continuing live coverage of the xEUCF tournament here in the somewhat rainy Bruges. My name is Ali Thomas. I am joined in the commentary booth by the delightful Benji Rees. This is a women's semi-final. This is Yakka from France taking on Dublin Gravity with Yakka starting on offense. And we have started immediately as the last women's game on this pitch overran slightly, and that's a beautiful shot through the Dublin zone. Yakka not messing around. That is Chassigneau with the score. Yakka looking very hyped up. What are your thoughts on this game, Benji?
I'm excited by this one. I think for a lot of people, I don't want to say that they have anointed Yakka as the presumptive champions, but I think there is a lot of support that feels like Yakka are probably the favourites for this game.
Yakka have had a pretty good tournament so far. I think they are currently undefeated, having taken down Box, Heidelberg, Flowers and Love earlier today in what was an incredibly tight game with lots of fits and starts. Dublin Gravity have also gone undefeated, but their games have been just a little bit closer, most notably earlier today, 14-11 against Frisbee. But there are some incredibly strong players on both these teams vying for a spot in the final to take on KUSP Shout, who recently dispatched Sweden's Valkyria on this pitch. I mean, if you're looking at this Irish side, and I'm seeing a lot of names that have had strong runs at xEUCF before, won UK Nationals, and also from that victorious Irish women's side at EUC 2019 out in Győr in Hungary. We've got Fleming on the sideline, looking up the line, gets the bounce back to Barron, who looks long. A bit of miscommunication. Oh, almost caught by Sutherland, who goes to ground in a rather muddy section of the pitch to get it. But Yakka will have a chance to break. I think at least Becker misread that slightly, or if you're being generous, say she suckered in the Gravity player as well, because she got too far underneath it. The Gravity player tried to make a backwards layout saving snag, but wasn't able to do so. So the first break chance will go the way of Yakka. We've got Mondio pointing to an option for Afonso to take on. Mondio up the line. She's been absolutely crucial for this Yakka offense as a handler. Yeah, former Euro star. Commonly known to most people as Rasta, although the hairstyle has long since departed us. Bringle looking deep. She's trying to find Mondio, who goes to ground with an absolutely incredible grab. What an opening for Yakka in this game. Well, we think about Mondio certainly more as a handler than as a receiver. Slightly shorter in stature and not necessarily known for that deep striking speed, but timed the cut brilliantly. I mean, Bringel is a hell of a thrower, and that's a Eurostars connection hooking up there as well. The Portuguese import, looking very good there for Yakka. Just sits this one out. She's given Mondio a lot of work to do, and believe me, she's done that in some style. I mean, Mondio she'll do anything. Either side of the disc, she'll lay out, she'll sky players that she has no right to sky. We saw her earlier taking on some much taller Belgian players. She is talismanic for this Yakka side, I think. Certainly would not disagree with you there, and I think a lot of Yakka players would point to her and to Robin Fennig as real leaders. That's Fennig with the pull. That's Barron looking upfield. That's some good under defense from Yakka, making those cuts difficult, trying to reset up the line. Well snagged. And Lennon immediately looks deep. She's looking for Sutherland. Sutherland goes to ground, and that is the first point for Gravity in this game. Well, it's looking pretty good so far, I think, as in terms of a contest between these two sides. Clean point first up for Yakka, and then they just about force a turn on the endzone line, and then go the length of the field for the score, and then Dublin Gravity set themselves, and they can go deep as well. It is promising already to be a very spicy contest. I'm just trying to get an eye on who threw the assist there
for the Dubliners?
It was Lennon, I believe.
I shall take your word for it.
96.
Yeah, Michelle McLennan, there we go. Thank you very much, Ali. Yes, this Dublin side, I think, you know, you don't win a tournament, you don't win EUC, you know, UK Nationals, very strong women's teams. We haven't seen any come out of the UK for this tournament, but thinking about Bristol, thinking about Iceni, you know, semi-finalists last EUCF out in Caiola in the airport fields there in Italy, and they've got a you know, a nice range of players on their roster. Maybe not some of the more familiar names, but still formidable to deal with. Elisa Southern actually played in the States with New York Bent, first year here with Dublin.
Oh, wow.
Getting a law degree at Trinity, so clearly a smart cookie.
Oh,
much smarter than I. I know, right?
So Richon dumps back to Mondior, swings immediately to Krosnier. Back to Mondior, central in the pitch. Receiving those swings, breaking through this Dublin zone, which has been so effective at dispatching other teams in the tournament so far.
Atmospheric conditions-wise, there's not a huge amount of wind and rain at the moment, as, well, Paula Bars does as she's wont to do sometimes, and she's got a full range of throws in her arsenal, seeing it there with the scuba.
Yakka are stretching the zone very wide and quite deep. Perfectly placed to receive that swing. Becca looking back to the middle, and Yakka looking remarkably calm and unflustered in the face of this Dublin zone. Back to Krosnier. Fakes off Becca. That's Bringel back on the disc. Very speedy swings, just getting it from one side of the pitch to the other, hoping to open up those holes in Gravity's zone. And some nice quick handler movement, penetrates through that cup. Lots of quick passes between Le Born and Mondiaux.
And they found the space to go. They got off the races just a bit. They saw it wasn't there, slowed it down, and then a pinpoint hammer over the top to open things back up again.
That hammer came out of absolutely nowhere. She moved her hand so fast, but just bobbles out of the hands. Bars cannot connect with Mondiaux. And Dublin Gravity have a chance for a break.
Another one of those Eurostars connections on the pitch for Yakka, but that time just slipped through the fingers.
Oh, and you could see exactly what O'Neill was going for there. But I think in the slippery conditions, the disc maybe had just a little bit of mud on it, and it blades far out of reach for the intended receiver. So Yakka back on offense. Gravity setting their zone.
Bars doing the sensible thing and taking a second to wipe the disc before she brings it in.
Got Morgan in the force, chasing the disc across the field. Bit of switching in the cup now, maybe giving Morgan a bit of a break. Yakka moving the disc very quickly. Zone not having a chance to catch up, but finally it does. And more swinging from Yakka. This is very deliberate, very calm. Getting a lot of touches on the disc. Oh, slightly far for Baz. Dumps back to Mondiaux. And another beautiful hammer! It's deja vu from earlier on. On the far sideline now.
Didn't know you spoke French. That's not true, I did actually.
Mondiaux again, she's all over the field. And another hammer! Oh, she's got a chasing player! Oh, but Le Born manages to snag it! It's another connection between Le Born and Mondiaux. And Yakka are certainly putting on their stylish plays today.
They got a lot of yards quite quickly off that turnover because Linehan was stretched very deep, but there was no one really putting that space. We have a quite, I want to say ungenerous sideline where I come from when we play zone. And like sometimes you will be told very meanly to get a job. And it sounds like you're being a real pain. But the point is, I appreciate you want to take away the deep threats and you're trying to preempt that a little bit. But actually, if everyone is quite a long way in front of you, perhaps you don't need to be set so deep. You can cheat up a little bit more to put a bit more pressure on there. You can maybe, and that allows other players to push out a little bit more as well. It's about treading that balance between putting enough pressure on the defenders, but not leaving the back door open for someone to sprint behind you when you're not looking. It's a difficult balance to tread. And obviously, as someone who is not particularly tall of stature. It's not a role I've had to play, so I'm very much not speaking from experience on it.
No, I think you're absolutely on the menu, Benji, and
happens occasionally.
You throw enough at the wall, something's going to stick eventually. So we've got a match defense from Yakka. They did play, oh wow, that is a beautiful huck at a high stall, and incredible take from Chambers. Oh, but Conservation of Greatness strikes again. She got up so high to get that disc.
We've talked about this week, both here and in Sardinia, about the art of the high stall punt, getting air underneath it, trying to keep it flat so it's a bit easier to read, giving your taller players a chance to go out and make a play, and that time did that, but just couldn't complete the consecutive throw.
So Yakka eventually gets the disc off the sideline after some ferocious dump defense from Gravity. Gets it off under. A little bit of slow clearing from Yakka. This point is not the shortest one yet, and running on this very muddy ground is very tiring for legs. It's the number 24, Le Mercier, getting free. Yakka using the width of the pitch really nicely here. Oh, and a floaty high release is going to be very well read by Fennig, who goes to ground, but knows that she did not have control of the disc, and it is a turnover.
This is really good spirit by Fennig. I think because she knew she was going to make the play, and you can see she's trying to turn her hand, so when she's landing flat and she's not drawing that list. And as she's making that transfer, it bobbles loose. She knew it hit the ground, and good spirits to, rather than wait for someone to call it, own up to it, trying to get back in play and get the D back. Although that time, the crab catch and the disc just sunk at the wrong moment there for balance.
And I think that's an example of the universe agreeing with your rule that if something looks cool enough, it should stand. But we're going to have another turn here. Both teams struggling to get the disc off this sideline. So Gravity will have another shot. And hello to all of the Gravity fans who are in the chat.
Always nice to have what I'm sure is a very vocal and vociferous Irish contingent in the chat.
So we've got some loud sidelining as Fleming looking for a dump. Finds Baron. Baron looking upfield. Manages a shot towards the middle. And that is a clean D that will stand from Jeanne. Jeanne, excuse me.
Chambers just couldn't quite get there in time. Thought potentially she had enough, but decided that she didn't have full control of the disc. No foul, turnover stands.
So we've got Chassignon to Jeanne. And this is a beautiful shot that is going to land perfectly in the hands of Katharina Meisser. And Yakka coming out very dominant today.
What a howitzer of a throw. I mean, they've shown that, okay, they're not unhappy to put it deep. I just wasn't necessarily expecting it then, because they're probably already beyond halfway. Don't want to say it seemed like an innocuous situation. The cut was there, but it required a really good throw, and it got one, and it made the catch as cool as it needed to be for Katharina Meisel. And that'll put Gravity down 4-1 now. So Yakka starting strong in this game, looking to book what would be a sensational, salivating final indeed, with cusp shouts. My brain is clearly slightly discombobulated. Sorry, everyone.
That's quite all right, Benji. I think everyone is at this stage.
Yeah, the emotions are reaching fever pitch a little bit around the tournament as the semi-finals are in play across all divisions. So we've had the first semi-finals in both the Open and the Women's. Second taking place now, and then both mixed semi-finals are on the stream fields after this. So there is still lots more wonderful Ultimate to come here live and for free on ULTI.TV's YouTube channel.
So we've got Dublin setting up in a more horizontal look with several more handlers back. And that's a nice release point. It's going to sail over the head of the intended receiver, but rescued by Fleming.
I'm sure that's exactly what they meant.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They drill that all the time. Got Gilheeney. Back again to Fleming. Oh, caught well under a lot of pressure by Linehan. looking for a dump in Gilheeney, but finds O'Neill instead. O'Neill looking to the end zone, and she finds Chambers, who goes to ground with the impressive layout catch, and Gravity are not going to go quietly.
Brilliant catch. Brilliant catch. In these conditions, I mean, you can see how the field is beginning to churn up, especially in the middle, but even where it's not muddy, it is very slick and it is difficult to keep your footing and to keep your focus. So you've got to credit Gravity when they can, you know, do it down nice and cleanly. You can say maybe they got a bit lucky at points, but it's the fact that they're aware and they can see perhaps that there will be, but they know there might be overthrows. And slung out there from Leanne O'Neill. And that's what Fennig was trying to do earlier. You can see the deliberate decision to turn and land with the risk. So you're cushioning the fall slightly. You're sliding along rather than kind of a jarring impact, perhaps, on the elbows. Fennig tried to do it, couldn't quite execute it that time. Chambers doesn't necessarily show her how it's done, but demonstrates exactly what the idea was. Brilliantly executed. 4-2. I think you're right. This game is by no means over, because we've seen the quality that Dublin Gravity have, both here and on the nationals, and you know, representing their nation. Until this game is done, I think every scoreline is still possible.
I will totally agree with you, and we've seen teams come back, you know, just today from several point deficits, as Dublin going to abandon their zone, start playing. Oh no, I spoke too soon. They've just adjusted the cup. Oh, and a bit of pushing and shoving on the downfield, no calls.
Sometimes that's what you need, rather than a complete change. Just tweak a couple of things slightly. So maybe they think they've seen a window that actually, with your new defense, isn't quite there, and it might take a throw or two to adjust. Just trying to fine-tune it perhaps until you get it right.
I couldn't agree more, and I think this zone is, I say that, they have been slowing down the offense a lot. The Yakka players are holding the disc for quite a long time. Oh, that's would have been a nice option to number 80 on the sideline. But they've got it onto the clear side of the pitch now.
This is it's not the wind and rain we had earlier, but we've seen how the ground is slippery and is churning up. The disc is probably still a little bit wet, even not as wet as it was. So forcing a team to make as many passes as possible, not necessarily a bad idea, although I think there's a little bit of a collision downfield between Gilheeney and Melina Dabin.
Yeah, so I think it's a potentially an uncontested foul. Gilheeney just adjusting her jaw there, may have got a little bit of a shoulder to the face, perhaps.
Yeah, hopefully nothing more than that. Anytime there's any injury around the head, it's always a little bit of cause for concern.
We're having some very nice handler movement from Yakka. I really thought Fennig was going to put it deep there. Oh, an excellent grab a little bit behind her by Renier. She's on the sideline, finds Fennig. Fennig starting to look into the end zone, but immediately dumps it back to Renier. And a swing across the field to Géant. Renier again. Fennig jogging up to make a dump. Receives the disc. Oh, fakes the offhand.
Just trying to make sure the marker's on their toes.
Babican to Fennig. Oh, floaty throw to Renier. Renier swings across to Meiser. And it's a beautiful floaty throw over to Amane Babikian. A little mop of curly hair as she walks to receive some high fives from her teammates.
There was that pass through the middle of the pitch, which it was completed, but it just drew in Emily O'Brien for a split second. Got her weight going forward and out of position. They're able to get that IO shot towards this near sideline. She's not in a position to make a play. And Yakka, I mean, what? I don't know how many passes there were. It was more than a few, but they were calm, they were cool, never really looked flustered. And hopefully we can see it again on the replay. It's this one here, there's a split second where she comes forward and then sits that out into space. Another assist goes to Renier's name. And you mentioned it was Babikian with the goal. That'll be 5-2.
So Gravity going to have to really rethink potentially their defensive strategy, since Yakka seem to be starting to make short work of their zone. Oh, a lot of pressure and a big pivot finds Fleming.
I love the fundamentals of these players in this game.
Oh, a low catch near the sideline, but kept in bounds by Gilhini. Oh, and an inside floater is towed in by Chambers for her second goal. And that was an incredibly clean and beautiful gravity point.
Anya Gilhini's quite an easy player to spot from a distance with the bright pink headband and the knee pads, but you don't necessarily see too many players wear outdoors. But again, we talked about fundamentals on the throw, on the sideline. Force in the face, doesn't look flustered, gets out low, gets out wide, whips the release point, and nice footwork in the end zone, almost balletic to toe the sideline there from Chambers. Always enjoy watching Gilhini because she can break any force, she can pick spots downfield against tight match coverage because she's got that accuracy with the pass. So you think, okay, maybe we'll try some zone and we'll take away those aggressive downfield options. Well, brilliant, because she's got the full array of overheads to tear you apart that way as well. Was a key reason why Ireland won that European Championship. I mean, absolutely shredded Switzerland in the final.
I mean, throws like that are impossible to defend against if they are right on the target, especially if they come just kind of over that defensive shoulder to land perfectly in the hands of the receiver. And some people call them unorthodox throws, but I had a coach tell me that unorthodox throw is just a throw that you don't practice.
Yeah, or it's unorthodox because other teams aren't expecting it either, so they can't defend it. You saw Mondio try and come into poach, but maybe that's part of the reason why, you know, Mondio, with all due respect, is not necessarily the tallest defender. So if you put a little bit of air under it, you can help to reduce the effect, perhaps, of getting blocks there.
So Gravity sticking with their zone. They do have a much shorter roster, so potentially trying to save their legs nearing the end of this long tournament, this extended tournament. You've got Jeanne on the disc. Finds Robin. Oh, and that's a floaty pass, but it's going to be incredibly well taken by Meiser, who dumps back to Fennig. Swings over to Jeanne. Fennig again. Chassagne, little wave of the hands. No, I'm not an option. Looks upfield, takes the swing across once more to Renier. Oh, a lot of pressure on the handlers, but lets that little dump pass go. They've worked it all the way over to the far sideline. It's Chassagne with the disc, dumps straight backwards to Jean.
It's so patient from Yakka.
And it's exactly what you're taught to do with the zone. You get trapped on the sideline, you dump it, and then you immediately swing it to the other end of the pitch, the other side of the pitch as fast as you can, so the zone cannot catch up. What they're missing is just that continuation from the cutters upfield. The handlers doing a fantastic job of working it between themselves, but there hasn't been much involvement, bar these four players whose names I've said a couple of times now.
They had lots of success with Mondio firing over the top, but I don't know if they've got anyone on this line who is, I don't know if they're not confident enough or if they're necessarily given the same license to take that sort of shot, because I'm sure they've got it in the locker.
I haven't seen Mondio for a few points now. I hope she's all right after that bid in the end zone.
I mean, she came up with a previously white jersey looking very brown afterwards.
A little bobble from Fennig, but shoots a beautiful floater across the other side of the pitch to Chassagne. Chassagne. Dunks back to Matthias. Matthias to Jeanne, and then Fennig. Fennig with another lovely floater again to Chassagne. Fennig up the line, looking to the end zone. And bish, bash, bosh. Matthias dishing the disc off. It's quick, it's easy. We're hearing the high-pitched E that begins the Yakka chant. Gosh, they are looking decisive and dominant today, Benji.
I know that the kind of the zone defense may be Gravity's trademark, but at the moment, it's, you know, the wind and the rain has died down, and Yakka just look completely unflustered. There was maybe one pass where there was a bit of a hand on it, but otherwise, it's been pretty much plain sailing, you have to say. As we're getting a replay of Matthias finding Cécile Munier for the goal. just, you know, attacking it at pace, looking downfield, bing bong. It's almost like a little pinball table, you know, pinging around, taking all sorts of different angles, and the Dublin defence are really struggling against it.
So Gravity's O-line with a chance to get what would be a much needed hold. Working it up that far sideline. Sutherland looking back for a dump. She had Gilheeney up the line, but marked out, and eventually swings over, and it's intercepted by Yakka. Looks like there was an attempt from the stack, but the mud got in the way. So we've got Mondial, who looks long, but immediately snagged by Jennifer Kwan. And Dublin start to get it moving again.
Often on the D-line, you get a bit more license to be more free-spirited with your decision-making on the turn. Mondio saw the deep option that she liked, but didn't get the execution right, and that's actually really well read in the midfield. Keeping that head on the swivel, so you've got your eye on the player you're marking and on the disc as well, and really well read. Just snipe in there and steal it away.
So we've got an uncontested foul on the number 97, Helen Barron. Play is back in, and that is a very nice dump cut from Megan, who sends a beautiful floater out to this near sideline. Fleming on the disc. Oh, but that's going to be just too far. That was quite a zippy disc, and Gilheeney not able to get a hand on it. Yakka with quite a lot of ground to cover. Mondio walking up to the disc.
I think if she's coming from a bit further, if the fly's a bit further out in front, or if maybe there's a bit less pace on it, she'll have time, or she'll be attacking it at a speed enough to get a bid in. But as it is, it was thrown so quickly and so close that it doesn't have time to kind of set yourself into the motion of making the layout.
Yeah, it looked like it was dropping quite fast and hard to get a read on. This ground near the sideline is also not the most even, so getting a purchase and finding footing, not the easiest. We've got Le Born on the disc. Oh, and a turnover around halfway up the pitch.
Just a simple drop on an undercut from Audrichon, and that is very unusual.
So Gravity with another chance. This is excellent defense from Yakka, but looking long, trying to find Chambers, who reads it well and takes it high despite the two Yakka players next to her. And at the third time of asking, second time of asking?
I believe, let me check, I'll have to check my maths as soon as I put this in. Diddly-doo. That was, yeah, the third possession for Dublin Gravity. They do finally put it in. And in that position there, in the centre of the pitch, maybe halfway, slightly beyond halfway, I think the book is out. The jury is out on what exactly Gilheeney's going to do, because you can see how far off that mark is. They know that she wants to wrench it deep, but going a little bit further away, perhaps you have time to react to that and tip it away. But cut develops early, using the full width of the pivot. Gilheeney's more than happy to put that deep, has all the faith in Chambers, and that faith was well repaid. That's already Chambers' third goal this game. 6-4 the scoreline. It's not been as easy, I think, for Gravity as it has been for Yakka on offense. Maybe because there's not as much tight pressure, perhaps. But certainly, if you stand off Gilheeney, then she's going to put it all day. But then I guess if you get tight, then she's going to break you all day. So it's pick your poison, really.
Yeah, it's very much a damned if you do and damned if you don't situation. And Gravity also had a much harder fought game than Yakka did, some might argue this morning. Oh, that's such a fantastic effort from Matthias, but not able to keep it in play. So Gravity, with a bit of momentum, finds Doyle on the sideline. Oh,
what a fake.
Incredible deep fake. Nice shot up the line to O'Neill. And O'Neill puts in the point. The Irish sideline goes wild. That's got to be a relief for Gravity.
their first break of the game, so they've finally shown that ability to turn, not only to turn the Yakka line, because they've done that once before, but also they were clinical on the turn there, picked it up, just continually working down this open side channel. I mean, it's very rare that I will specifically highlight a fake, but I think everyone watching, including the defenders, the other receivers, the camera crew, everyone got faked out by the pump on that fake for Cleaner Doyle. And then, because she knows that's a threat, she puts it down the line for O'Neill. Really good snag, actually, reaching behind a little bit from Sinead Dunn. Gravity get their first break of the game. 1 point behind at 6-5. This is very much game on, Ali. Game is very much on.
Well, yeah, remember when it was, 5-2? I certainly was getting a bit worried for this Gravity side, but clearly they have got nothing to worry about. They are more than capable of fighting this battle. This pull is going to sail out of bounds and be bricked by Mondio, who is sporting rather mud-streaked legs from her layout earlier.
It's like a badge of honor almost. When obviously if your weather's like this, you're wearing a white kit and you finish the day with your kit still completely white. Probably get a few suspicious looks from your teammate.
At least with some speckles on the back from where you've been running and mud's been kicked up. So Mondio with a floater. Yakka working it up the sideline now. Bringle dumps back to Bass.
She just flipped the disc over a little bit to maybe show the scuba, but brilliant over the head blade.
That's Bringle again. Back to Bass. Dumps off to Mondio, who lifts up her foot to keep it in line, and that's a lovely shot through the middle. Bringle swinging it round to the far side. Rietschoten fakes, pivots, fakes again. Finds Bass on this near sideline. Oh, and fakes out her defender. Swings back to Mondio, looks upfield for a few seconds. Now trying to find a dump. Bringle making moves, but throws a floater all the way to the back of the end zone. That is another high stall and extremely well executed. I mean, it is not easy to do that under pressure.
They got away with one a little bit there, I think, because on a high stall towards the red zone, the space is really at a premium, and so often it's difficult. I thought maybe they had an opportunity with players when the disc was swinging towards this sideline, maybe perhaps over the top. Didn't like what they saw, and then Mondio, I think she spots the player and just trusts that she can squeeze it in there before the defender can come across. And she is just about right. You can see her put a little bit underneath it. It is agonizingly close from a Gravity perspective, but I'm pretty sure that Yakka will not care one jot. Elise Becker with the goal. Jane Linehan will be so frustrated because she could not have been more than a couple of inches. Wait, we're in Europe, aren't we? A couple of centimetres away from it.
And Becker, who's played for the mixed national team in 2016 and in 2019, and the women's beach national team in 2019. So an incredibly seasoned player here.
A wealth of international experience from Elise Becker.
Cincinnati in 2018 as well. Just what an ultimate resume.
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad.
No. So Gilhini directing traffic. Oh, tries to throw a blade up to Dunn, but it is cruelly ripped away from her by Jean. We've got Chassigno picking up. Puts a nice one out to space for Dabin. Dabin trying to find a dump in Fenig. Oh, Fenig under a lot of pressure. Looks across to the other side of the end zone. Beautifully caught by Le Mercier. And the Yakka ladies making a lot of noise as they run onto the pitch. There are some very smiley French faces on the field right now. And Gravity's heads look like they are starting to drop, maybe just a tiny bit, as Yakka takes half.
8-5. Pretty strong half there from Yakka. It was not perfect. It was not flawless. But on the balance of play so far, you'd have to say that they deserved their lead. That one just pretty much squeezed the throw past the ear holes of the defender. She slips trying to put the force on, cannot get there and recover in time. And as you mentioned, slung across the end zone from Fenech, hits the receiver in stride, Mathilde Lemercier. And that'll be 8-5 and a half-time lead. And beginning the second half on offense should be Gravity, so that is something at least, that you're not going to give Yakka 2 back-to-back possessions. But there is a lot for Gravity to do, and as you mentioned, with a slightly shorter roster that maybe isn't quite as star-studded, doesn't have the international flavour that Yakka's does. It's a tough task, but certainly the quality is there within the squad to overcome it.
Yeah, never say never with Gravity. And I think we are now going to show you a short commercial break as we take on a little bit of liquid.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and fund our work
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
So if you do want to continue to support ULTI.TV's coverage of Ultimate here in Europe, Australia and around the world, then you can find the link to our Patreon page in the description of all our YouTube videos, which will remain live and for free on YouTube and on demand for as long as we can, which hopefully is forever, and through the Patreon and with more details on our website, ULTI.TV, from as little as a couple of euro a month, I guess it would be here in Belgium. You can become a supporter of ULTI.TV and help us to bring you coverage of the best that Worldwide Ultimate has to offer.
And that pull is going to roll away from O'Neill, almost like it was running away from her. But in hand now. Oh, and an incredible run through D from the 26 shirt, Clara Matthias. And gosh, Yakka have certainly got a fire in them today. They are going for absolutely everything. As a break goes to Bringer, who then charges off up the line after dishing it off to Becker. On the sideline now. Matthias looks round, finds Jean. But that is incredibly uncharacteristic for Robin Fennig. The disc just slipping through her gloved hands, and Gravity looking long. That disc is going to float and be caught by Gilheeney, who rips one across the end zone. Nobody anywhere near. Caught by Linehan. Some lovely throws from that point, Benji.
Brilliant shots down the sideline. I love the big purposeful pump fake with that inside-out backhand, just to keep the defender kind of on their heels a little bit. And then slinging that blade down the sideline in front of the camera. Found Claire Gilheeney and then looks up. Jane Linehan's a pretty good target to find deep. And actually, throw leads her quite a way out to that break side. It needs to, because if you allow Robin Fennig a sniff, she's going to get that. And it's brilliantly towed in the end. The presence of mind, the field awareness to know that you're going to have to keep that back foot down. Nice little toe drag swag there from Linehan, I think they call it. And that'll be a good start to this second half for Dublin Gravity. They turned it over, but they got it back. Admittedly, you could say maybe it was an unforced error rather than one that they forced. But at the second time of asking, they capitalised, and that's what good teams do.
As you have told me several times over the course of the last week, it's all about catching the disc in the end zone, and it doesn't really matter how it gets there.
I mean, that is how you score. I have learned this over many years of commentary.
God, the things you learn in the booth, amazing.
I know, I never knew that before I started this gig.
So we've got Yakka working their way once more through the gravity zone. Very patient, not necessarily the most flashy ultimate, but that is not what you need to work through a zone. It can help, but not as much as just very safe clap catches, setting your pivot, throwing to an open handler. So Fenig up the line, tries to find a little gap between the two players in the cup, but it's not there yet. Oh, a nice break upfield to Chassignon. Dumps back to Jean. Jean dishes off to Chassignon. Renier finds an upfield pass. Renier back to Fenig. And that's exactly what the cup is there for, just to punish any lazy throws that are too close to the outstretched arms. Gilhini immediately picking up, stall count starting to rise. She's not got a lot of options, but breaks with alacrity. And the number 11, O'Brien, immediately looking deep. But Renier is there to snaffle it.
Giving up a little bit of height in that matchup with Morgan, but went up nice and early, I think, because obviously as a receiver, you can't just get there first. You've got to make sure you can catch it as well, so it's got to be comfortable for you. And as a defender, all you need is the tiniest tip to get it away, and Renier knew that.
So Gravity setting up their zone once again. They've pushed Yakka back a lot, who are very near their own end zone. Fenig, looks like there's a bit of a violation, potentially 2 marking infractions, so the stall count will return to 0.
Yeah, 2, you are bang on, obviously. 2 marking infractions within the same stall, reset the stall to 0, and then any subsequent marking infraction will also reset the stall to 0.
Yakka a couple of meters out from the end zone. Still trying to look upfield. They're starting to swing it less, a little bit. They've been using the width of the pitch very effectively earlier on against this zone. Starting to keep it a bit more in this third. Choosing to catch it and then give it back instead of that continuation. Looks like they potentially don't have as many handlers back to help out in this formation. They are going with Chassignon on the sideline. Dumps back to Jean.
Fenig's on space on that far side if they can find a way to squeeze it through to her.
Hammer, hammer. Oh, I say just. It's brought in with a bit of a blade. Oh, fakes the low one. Fenig around the back. Gets one across to Dabin.
Throw sailed ever so slightly, but did not phase Dabin 1 iota.
Well, she had nobody near her, which is exactly what you need to do in a zone. Shows Chassignon in the middle of the pitch. Yakka slowly but surely working it up. This is definitely a game of inches, not miles, to use a silly and outdated system.
Don't know what you're on about, mate.
Matthias dumps back to Jean. Jean to Fenig. Oh, fakes over the head of Farnan there. And there's the big shot. It's going up and it's coming back down. Meister not able to get a hand to it. It is too far out of bounds. And the gravity zone has forced another turn from Yakka eventually.
Yeah, you can see that Eurodisc flag in the sideline who are providing the official discs for the tournament. It just kind of lands beyond there. Nice attempt, but just the angle and the shape of that throw was all wrong, and it was slow, and this is what Gravity are waiting for. They're just trying to maybe goad them into some mistakes a little bit, play on the ego perhaps sometimes, leave these windows open, going like, come on, you know you can get it in there, and then just maybe hoping that a gust of wind or maybe some defensive pressure prevents the disc from going to hand.
That was an incredible cut setup from Linehan. Oh, but it's all for naught as Fenig intercepts a disc that was going deep. And it looks like Gravity able to set up their zone at a moment's notice.
Yeah, clearly well practiced in setting this up, but from quick pickups, from difficult positions in the middle, on the sideline. So they've well drilled as it just goes through the hands.
I think Yakka are just making so many passes. It's the inevitable kind of complacency that can creep in. Oh, but there was nothing complacent about that run through D from Robin Fennig, who catches it, and a timeout is called. This point feels like it has been going on for a while, Benji.
This timeout call makes a lot of sense to me, because you mentioned this is that's the third turnover. That's 3 turnovers aside at this point, which is the most out of any point. 6 turnovers so far in this game, and yeah, you mentioned it's just silly little errors from both sides, really. For Yakka, it feels like there's a bit less pressure on them, but after the turn, you know, whether it's an error in execution from Gravity, like the last one was behind and Fennig was there to kind of, to kind of steal through, didn't steal through, kind of ram through, a real turn of pace. And then the previous one where she picked it off deep, Linehan, usually she's the deep receiver, but uses that to come under plant, finds a player she thinks in space, but maybe that's a question of picking your matchup, because if you hang that a little bit, as much as you back your players, you've got to think, okay, who are they being matched up against? Or who is, if they're not matched up against them, who is potentially in a position to drop off and help in that area? Maybe one error in execution and one error perhaps in decision making. Although I do appreciate, it's very easy to be critical from here in the booth.
Yes, it certainly is. But we are not grinding it out on soggy turf.
Yes, it's certainly, you can see why Gravity have stuck with this zone, because the rain's coming back a little bit now as well, as the evening gradually begins to draw in, very gradually I hope. It gets a little bit colder, so those hands are a little bit cold as well. It's tricky. Something that's interesting is that Yakka have 4 handlers back in this zone, and that means they've got 3 players downfield, which is conveniently where Gravity also have 3 players. So they're almost going one-on-one down there. One of the things I was taught with Prince's Zone is you want to be marked by 2 people or no people. If you're marked by 2 people, that's great, because then someone else should be free. And if you're marked by no people, well, then that's great, because you're not marked by anybody and you're free. Well, the question is, do your throwers have the confidence and the ability to get it there? With Yakka, I would suggest that they do. I think that's going to be a violation, though. So after all that, it's just a little bit of a false start, and everyone will go back to their previous position.
So would you go for 5 handlers to get the mismatch? Or
I'd say if you've got confidence in the handling core, I'd probably go 3 handlers.
Oh gosh. Yes, I think it very much depends on the conditions. I think if it's much, much windier and you want those shorter passes, having 5 handlers may seem excessive, but if it gets the job done. I've seen 2 handlers against a 4-person cup, which is incredibly bold.
Optimistic,
can work very
I think.
well.
You have to rely on those middle players, especially the wide players, to come back and be those swing continuation options. And if they're willing to do that, it works.
I've seen 2 very strong handlers absolutely dominate the heck out of a zone.
I could also very much buy that.
Oh, lovely lead pass through to Fennig, who slips down to one knee, but still manages a high release break over the shoulder of the Gravity player. That is Alexia Chassigno with the score, and Yakka, with their hands in the air, celebrate another score. They are 3 points ahead of Gravity.
Yeah, 6-9 at the moment. And you have to admit, they've played nicely for that 3-point lead. They fully deserved it. The question now is, can Gravity answer? Will they maintain the kind of this trading with a couple of point gap? Because at the moment, sitting relatively pretty, I think, for Yakka.
I think it is very tough for the Gravity players who are playing D. They're playing zone, they're playing hard, especially that cup. They're having to react to a lot of these short passes and swings across the pitch that Yakka are making. So to then get the turn and then have to play offense against Yakka, who have not been doing that much cutting to get free. They've mainly been kind of swinging it across the disc, at least that pitch, at least the handlers have anyway. So it's a big ask, but we'll have a fresh set of legs. No run through D for Yakka this time. The number 84 shirt immediately puts the force on.
But you can see that they are right on the shoulders, and they are really forcing Gravity to work for every undercut.
Oh, clutched to the chest of Jessica Chambers.
I think the players have stopped temporarily. There was a little bit of contact, but I don't think there was any infraction there. I expect them fully to take advantage of that poached player on the restart.
Oh, the Yakka player just able to catch up, Gravity not able to capitalise, but they'll get it up the line to Gilheany. Guarded by Mondial, that's a matchup. Oh, and beautiful upline cut from O'Neill. At about the brick mark now. Looking for another up the line cut, but instead, oh gosh, a little bit of contact on Baron. I think that is going to be an uncontested foul. Bass just checking to make sure that Baron is okay. So that disc will be tapped in and brought to the front of the end zone.
Good use of hand signals as well by both players. That will improve their communication part of the spirit of the game sheets that they'll fill in after each game. Actually, if you're interested in this, you can find the spirit scores that each team awards for each game on Ultimate Central afterwards.
Oh, excellent rules knowledge. They tap the disc in and walk it to the front.
Love it. Genuinely, I do get excited about it.
Oh, what a snag by Chambers. This is her 4th goal of this game. She is absolutely lethal in the end zone and her hands are magnetic. What a point for Gravity.
They've got a number of these tall, athletic receivers who are very tempting deep targets. Players like Linehan, like, as you mentioned, Jessica Chambers, who now has over half of the Gravity goals, 4 out of 7. And it's utilising that wingspan effectively, so that even if the disc is perhaps a little bit off target, you really using every possible inch you can, straining every sinew to reach out for that disc that's behind you. And Batin, she's not playing bad defense there, but just the throw has put enough pace that it gets past her. Faith in the receiver that Chambers has the reaction time and the reflexes to bring it in, and that faith has been comfortably repaid as the rain begins to come down a little bit more now, and you feel this might play into the hands of the Gravity zone.
Yes, that disc becoming more and more slippery and harder to hang on to. The more passes that you have to make, the more likely it is, pure statistics, that there is going to be a turnover.
It is just maths. That 199% passes is less accurate than 95% passes. Like, I could have picked a better example, but trust me, maths works.
You heard it here first, folks. Maths works. And as does this Yakka offense, as they move it smoothly around the back. Nice little no pivot backhand from Dabao. They're on the sideline with Jean. Dumps it back to Fenig. Oh, who fakes a huge put. Getting a little bit congested, but finds Chassignon.
We're doing a very good job of trapping them on the sideline. They're keeping the stall count reset with those crashes in the cup, but they're not able to really get it into a more central position.
Jean finds Chassignon, just a little pass back. Not able to make the swing. They're losing a little bit of ground. Fenig on the sideline. This Gravity trap is going to stop any swings, but not that hammer. And a foul immediately called.
And immediately uncontested, and Dunn knew with the hammer helixed a little bit, but there was enough time and space underneath it to bring it down. Dunn's charging in, and I think she tries to pull out a little bit, perhaps give her the benefit of the doubt, but she can't quite do it in time. A bit of heavy contact, so not a surprise that was uncontested, and we're back in play.
Oh, fakes a big flick. Jean, and that's going to be a foul. Gravity player saying that the disc hit her leg.
I think it did, but I think the disc was definitely still in her grasp.
Yeah.
She was it. So if it's not a foul, I would have thought it would have been a strip. Okay.
Yeah, a definite. I feel like the disc would maybe have flown a bit differently if it had been out of John's hand before it hit O'Brien's leg.
Looks like a contested foul though in the end, so they'll just bring it back in on stalling 2.
Got a crash from Chassignon on the sideline now. This time the cup floods in to stop the crash. They've got Fenig. She's looking for another overhead, but instead finds Jean on the sideline. Back to Fenig. Lovely floaty disc up to Chassignon. Gravity defense not able to get there in time. A diving catch from Matthias will keep the disc in play. Back to Jean. Looking for Fenig, finds her, and she's got a wide open Bringel in the end zone. Excuse me, Meisel in the end zone, who gives the disc a little bit of a tap in celebration. And that, I believe, is another break for this French side.
That'll make it 10-7, I think.
The scoreboard on the other side of the pitch is in agreement with you.
So I think that's just a slow hold rather than a break. But again, working it down the pitch, utilising the full length. The thing that opened it up is they got that shot through the cup that they hadn't had at all that point. Then Phoenix, she's got the end zone at her mercy, right front and centre. And with so many potential options to choose, well, why not just use Meisel, because she's free at the front of the end zone. So a lot of the time they trouble them with getting the disc on the sideline and trying to trap them there. And then maybe as the point went on, Yakka got a bit more expansive with trying to break through that, and it seems to pay dividends for them.
That is an incredible pull by Monsieur. Her arm lashed like a whip to get that one to float beautifully down towards Gravity's line.
Mondio might be one of the best pure throwers in the game right now.
So we've got Yakka, bringing out a zone of their own. Mondio takes a bump but gets back up without making a call, and that's a very nice inside shot. Is she going to be able to bring it down? She is! It's Chambers with her 5th goal! Cheeky dab!
I'd love to see it.
It's great to see that Gravity spirits are still high, they are still in this, they are still fighting, and they are still able to pull out absolutely beautiful shots and beautiful plays despite the rain.
Something that I was taught with deep cuts is you want to make it down the middle of the field because it gives the thrower a larger target to aim at. But it is a very good cut from Chambers. I don't want to undersell the cut from Chambers, but this throw from Leanne O'Neill is a thing of majesty, getting low, just the inside-out shape that takes Bass completely out of it, hits Chambers in stride. I mean, I genuinely do not think I've seen a better throw all weekend. I genuinely do not think I have. And I've covered a lot of games.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's not just the precision and the accuracy, it's the touch on it, it's that lovely shape. There is no throw that I have wished that I could have thrown this weekend like I wish I could have thrown them.
Just need to keep practicing, Benji.
Well, yeah, but it's also wet and cold, and I can just talk about other people doing it better than I can, and that seems much easier. But brilliant throw from O'Neill. I'm like, it's so good. It's like throws often don't make highlights, but that one absolutely should.
I am very much in agreement. So we've got Gravity with their zone once more, a bid on that upfield pass, but Yakka still in possession, swings round to Renier, finds Jean, who's been an incredible handler so far this game for Yakka.
Just about got it in there, but as long as the catch sticks, I don't think you mind a little bit of fumbleitis.
Fakes the high release backhand. Dublin have transitioned to match and are putting a great deal of pressure on these Yakka cuts.
She wanted the blade across the end zone there, but saw that the cutter wasn't quite on the same page, so wisely holstered it.
It is match, but it is a poachy one. And still putting on a huge amount of pressure. Yakka continuing to dump and swing it round. A big piece of it, but still collected by Mondio. Sorry, Meiser, they're right next to each other. I keep getting that wrong, sorry. That is heartbreaking for Gravity. 11-8 now the score.
Linehan's done very well because she sees that cut developing and she knows that throw has to go. There's no way that it can't go, so she gets her hand in there. But what does she not do? Unfortunately for Gravity, she doesn't catch her D. It would have been amazing if she had, but the fact is, if you get tips and you don't get, a secure hand on it, it always opens the door. And Linier's blushes are spared as it works its way through to Meisel to reopen the 3-point lead.
It looks like it might just be going too fast over her head for her to try and catch it.
She does so well to shift the body weight, go back on herself, and also use that wingspan and that reach to get a little fingertip and nothing more than that. It was all she could do, and she did very well just to get that. But unfortunately for Gravity, It just seems like it's one of those days where the breaks might be going Yakka's way instead of theirs.
Although, out of half, it has just been trading all the way. Neither team yet to make a break. Yakka comfortable with their lead, maintaining that 3 points ahead of Gravity.
I was wondering when we were going to see that Anya Gilheany scuba.
Followed up with a hammer to Chambers. Nice flow from Gravity. They're getting the disc moving very quickly. Chambers on the disc again. Yakka calling to make the transition to match defense. And a D from Mondial, who immediately runs away. But a foul is called by Leanne O'Neill.
It is, I like the idea that they're trying something different because you never know, but I think it is a very brave team that plays a zone against a handling core of Leanne O'Neill and Anya Gilheany, to be honest. I think it is a very brave team because not only have they got those throws, you can tell they really enjoy using them. It's not like we will use it if they have to. There is a clear enjoyment out of it, and that means that you can tell there's more confidence behind it, and they come out a little bit cleaner.
So the foul will be contested, so will be sent back to Chambers. Chambers looking for a dump, finds Gilheany. Gilheany's got an undercut, but is looking for an up-the-line dump instead. Stall count rising, throws a Hail Mary scuba, and it is batted away by Le Bon. No call. That is a break opportunity for Yakka. Mondial looking long. Fakes to try and bring her players under. It's a high disc to the number 16. Bringel gets it off and a big shot goes. And the double happiness for Anne Le Bon. That is the first break of the second half for the French ladies.
Not a bad double, not a bad bookends really, that is it. And it's Olga Chinina with a throw as well. I think that's the first time I've called her name all game. But what a time to make an impact. Slinging that one down the far sideline. Finds the receiver. It is a brilliantly executed throw, especially from a player who hasn't necessarily had too many touches in this game. Such has been the quality of the offense, but on the money, in for the goal, and Yakka opening up a little bit of daylight. Well, I say daylight, evening light perhaps, at 12:08 here in this game. About just under half an hour until the time cap goes on. Yakka very much in the driving seat. I'm getting a lot of metaphors in here, which I apologise for.
Can never have too many metaphors.
Well, I think there probably is some limit, but yes, it's when you confuse them and you end up in potential trouble.
Shout out to Donal Linehan, who I presume is watching and cheering on Jane Linehan from home. We appreciate everybody watching on YouTube. Do remember to hit like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. There's going to be an uncontested foul on the field by Le Mercier.
I think it's actually downfield with Chambers and Fenwick, which is a tasty matchup if ever there was one. And you can see Fenwick, she's leaving her assignment a little bit there to poach and clog that lane.
Oh my God, how did she snag that? Chambers with the hands made out of glue. Oh, but after a great play must come something to equalise. So Fleming just not able to hang on to that little dish from Barron.
I mentioned that Fenwick was lurking in the middle of the field there. Gilheany saw it, was like, yeah, I back my receiver. I mean, Faith repaid Fenwick with a brilliant layout, but Chambers won even better. Unfortunately, they can't punch it in, but Yakka will give him a second opportunity off a short field.
Oh gosh, blink and you miss it.
Mm-hmm. Especially if I think it's Edgar's on camera too, is unfortunately in the way, which is not his fault. It's just the way we are located.
So Gilheany on the disc, looking into the end zone. She finds Linehan just on the front cone. And that is another goal for Gravity. Still fighting, still scrapping, still up for it on this muddy pitch here in Bruges.
I would not expect anything less from Gravity.
Oh no, definitely not.
A lot of these players have been Tom's tourney staples over the years, so the fields here in Bruges will not be unfamiliar to them, although maybe hopefully a bit more warmer and a bit less wet than it is now. But they know these fields maybe as equally as well as the Yakka players do, and they do not feel like they are done in this game because they've seen comebacks happen on this very pitch, and they know that if they just hang in there, maybe they can force the mistakes, maybe the weather can force the mistakes, maybe Yakka can force their own mistakes, and then all of a sudden they are right back in this game. At 3 points, this is certainly not done, Ali, and I think everyone here knows it.
And certainly that's why we're seeing quite a packed sideline on both sides of the pitch. Everyone, I think, very interested to see who is going to take on Cusp Shout tomorrow in the women's final. I think either of these teams would make an absolute delight to watch against the ladies from Bologna.
I could not agree more. It's a mouth-watering match in prospect, regardless of the outcome here.
And also, it would just be fab to see the Irish lads come out and cheer on their compatriots. What an incredible layout from Bringel there, keeping the disc in play. Dishes off to Mondial, who dishes it straight back.
I was just thinking that I hadn't really said Bringel's name that much in the second half, and well, there she goes and reminds everyone exactly what she's all about.
She is just as covered in mud as Mondio is now, and that is a beautiful blading shot, but it's going to bounce out of the hands of Bertin, and it looks like she was trying to take it as high as she possibly could, and the water on the disc perhaps just not allowing her to keep her grip on it. Oh, so that is a fantastic inside break up to O'Brien.
Well, maybe that's the little bit of luck that Dublin Gravity need to create themselves an opportunity for a break.
So we've got Gil Heaney, puts up a floater, still high. Everybody on the pitch is going to get underneath this one. And caught, perhaps with a little bit of help there.
Yeah, it's just kind of clutched gratefully to the chest.
Yeah. They've got Doyle with a nice shot up to Morgan. Oh, and that looked like it just kind of flubbed out of Morgan's hand.
Yeah, maybe struggled with a grip with these wet conditions, Darina Morgan, and then it was a nice layout to try and get underneath it, but unfortunately just couldn't quite scoop it.
We've got Mondio, she's looking long. She's got a hammer, which is snaffled up by Bass, who pirouettes and puts a very long shot down. That is an angry, angry Paula Bass, who throws her hat onto the sideline in disgust with herself.
Yeah, I think this is sometimes the trap you fall into as a thrower when you've got the full arsenal of throws, is you see things and like, yeah, this is definitely on, but your teammates don't necessarily see that same space as necessarily hittable, and it's almost like you've got too many tools when keeping it simple perhaps might have got the job done.
That is an incredible grab from O'Brien. Oh, but just again, Gravity needing to take that extra second to really make sure they have a grip on the disc, and despite a heroic effort from Sophie Farnon, she's not able to get the disc off the ground, and the rain is really starting to come down now. It's hammering on the top of our pavilion. Lovely round from Mondio, finds Bringel. And that's Bass motioning for players to come under.
Yeah, you can really hear the rain popping and hammering on the field microphones. It is very, very wet now.
Yes, and the players on the pitch are going to be just as wet as their surroundings. That is a beautiful high release blade. Oh, is that going to stand? No, there's an immediate foul call from Olga Chinina.
Trying to have a look at who the defender is. I believe it's Emily O'Brien for the Dubliners. Claire Gilheany's seemed like she had a good view of it, certainly a better perspective than I. It's always tricky with these things because we see it we get the replays, but we're seeing it they're all from our side of the field, from this angle. And that's why sometimes players from the other side of the field, they offer a different perspective that we can't necessarily see.
So we'll have just a bit of a zoom in here. It looks like there might well be a bit of contact.
I think there's almost certainly contact. The question is, was it incidental? Was the play already made?
So it'll be contested and sent back to Mondial, who throws down a lovely round to Rietschoten. Fakes the round again. There's a poach in the lane. Leaving Mondial poached is a bold choice.
Let's see if it pays off.
Oh, but it looks like Gravity are doing their zone, or at least a very poachy look on the handlers.
And it's worked well, because look how far back they've pushed Yakka.
Mondial receives a minuscule pass from Bruges.
Is it just me, or does it feel like the wind's getting a bit stronger as well?
I don't think that is just you. It's starting to gust a little bit in our pavilion. Mondial with a lovely floaty round pass.
Well, I don't think Mondio agrees about the wind getting stronger, because it looked effortless there.
Bruges to Rietschoten. And Mondial, she can throw, she can cut, she can score goals. And that is another point on the board for Yakka.
Rietschoten pretty much just stabbed it in there. And I think it's testament to the quality that this Yakka roster has, that there are so many good players on this side, like Rietschoten, whose names that it feels like we've barely called. And in a different game, she could be all over the place, but such is the strength in depth of Yakka at the moment. Only a couple points away now from their first ever finals berth at an EUCF.
Is it really their first final?
Yeah, I think they have a reputation of getting to the semi-finals and then not being able to get over the hump.
Didn't they beat CUSP once? Or am I dreaming that?
I think they lost to CUSP. I'm sure I remember reading that somewhere. I'm fully ready to be corrected, but I feel like that was the book on Yakka, is that some of their... Of course, that doesn't mean that some of their players have not won European silverware, because Mondio, for example, picked up with CUSP Shout in 2018 because Yakka didn't enter the European series after playing Worlds in the summer.
I'm very aware that you know much more about European Ultimate than I do, Benji, so I am inclined to believe you.
My knowledge is certainly not infallible, I will say that much. Well, let me see if I can find it in...
So they have 2 bronze medals. So, yes, you are right with the knot. I think it was that... I think what I was thinking of was that Shout were kept out of the finals by Yakka. And then Yakka didn't go, and then they made the finals, I think.
Maybe. Coming out of the... they were both previously in the EUCR South, which is a pretty strong reason when you've got Yakka and Shout, and then also the Swiss women's teams. Yeah, not easy to come out of that region by any stretch of the imagination.
So we're coming up on 70 minutes played. So 13-9. Yakka within 2. Gravity with a lot of ground to cover if they want to try and pull level, which I absolutely assume they do. O'Neill. Inside shot to Chambers. Chambers looking back to O'Neill. Oh, who's charging up the line, but it's got the wrong angle and it fades away from her.
And it's just kind of teasing and taunting O'Neill. I think she knows if she laid out for it, it would have been even more agonising.
Yes, so spare yourself the pain. Oh, and a misstep from Bass. Mondio tries to save it, but Gravity with another chance.
Setting up in a horizontal look downfield.
Charging up the line cut, O'Neill once more, but it's just past her outstretched hand, and Gravity are starting to look a little bit tired.
Yeah, maybe now that slightly smaller roster not necessarily doesn't have the same depth of international experience that Yakka has. Although having said that, of course, a lot of them were gold medalists at EUC, so it's not like this is a completely new scenario. but it does look like they perhaps have a little bit less in the tank than their opponents.
Brangel gets low to break O'Neill, and it's swung across the field to Elise Becker. Wide pivot, gets it off to Le Born. Le Born looking into the end zone. She's got Mondiaux on the open side. Mondiaux dumps it back to Brangel. And Brangel with a round. Oh, but I think it bounced off the head of Baron. It's one way to get a D.
A slightly unorthodox turnover, but I would be very surprised if Gravity cared.
Yes, that is absolutely fair enough. It's a bit like, doesn't matter how it gets there if the disc is caught in the end zone, and it doesn't matter how the disc ends up on the floor. So we've got Gravity with a lot of field to cover and a horizontal setup.
The brief flirtation that Yakka had with zone earlier in the half has swiftly ended as good focus to get back that in possession after what would have been an unfortunate case of the dropsies. Unfortunately, that makes it sound very childlike. You know what I mean? Sometimes it happens where you just look away and it just hits you at the worst possible moment.
So O'Neill gets it off to Fleming, who catches under extreme pressure from Mondiaux. Oh, and batted out of the air by Elise Becker. Not today. And Yakka have a chance to go within 1 point of the point cap and put themselves in the final against Crisp Shout tomorrow.
I don't mind the option of the down the line throw there, but it's got to come a bit earlier, because if it doesn't, as you mentioned, the window is pretty much already closed by the time the throw's arrived and the defender has position.
Oh, so a slip up field. It's not going to bother Crosnier. And Bass back and forth. Janina near the end zone. Back to Brangel. Mondiaux with a beautiful round. O'Neill not able to get there. And Le Born. Yakka are now 1 point away from winning this game and securing themselves for the first time, as I recently learned, in the final.
It does seem like a little bit of an inevitability. Got there in the end. Now, this is a brilliant around throw from Mondiaux, low and whipped, and the defender, because there's nothing they can do about it, nothing at all. And in a way, that's almost more frustrating, because sometimes if you're close, you feel like, oh, maybe if I tried a bit harder. And then sometimes you just have to put your hand up and say, very, very well played.
So Gravity are going to take a timeout here, as it may be one of their last opportunities to do so.
Yeah, both sides have 2 timeouts to use per half, and you don't get to carry them over if you don't use them. God, imagine if you didn't, like the last game of the tournament, you had like a bank of timeouts to use. Yes.
Call one every other pass.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the last game of the weekend. Want to get some Zot on board. Off we go.
That would be extremely jokes.
I've got bad tournament ideas now that I should not be allowed to have. Might as well use it, because maybe you can cook up a strategy that seems to work. At the very least, you can say, we know we're down. We know we've got to win 6 points on the bounce here. But let's focus on what we want to take into the bronze medal match, because a bronze medal at EUCF is no joke, especially in an xEUCF year where there are even more teams fighting for that crown.
Yes, this extended and unusually large EUCF tournament, because we weren't able to have regionals in the same way as we have had in previous years because of COVID and all of the nonsense that came with COVID.
Yeah, so teams qualified directly from their national championships, which is why you've got slightly bigger divisions than normal. I think it's 30 in open, 20 in mixed, and 17 in women's,
yes,
which are all lovely sizes with the exception of mixed.
Well, 17 is
horrible.
It is.
So, and at 30 is not great either, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, she's gone up very big, but not quite big enough, and it's snaffled away by Matthias. Yakka with plenty of admonition from their sideline to be cool and be calm, are within touching distance of closing out this game, securing themselves a spot in the final. Very static upfield. Eventually, Matthias charges up line.
Brilliant layout, not just in the end zone, but can you maintain focus here on the doorstep?
That would have been such an end to the game if she'd been in there. Fennig charging up the line, and a shot through the middle. She's not quite in the end zone. It's Chassignon looking for a dump. Finds the 29, Jean. Again, very static upfield. Jean gesturing that she would like a cut, please. Oh, floaty high release. And it's a dish! And it's a score by Katharina Meisel, her 4th of the game. And Yakka have done it. They have beaten Gravity. They are in the final. They are going to be facing the ladies from Bologna. Cusp shout. And what a hard-fought battle right up until the end here, Benji.
Yakka just created a little bit of distance early. They kind of pace each other out. And then at the end, when they saw victory in sight, they put their foot on the accelerator. At one point, it was 10-8. And then from that point, it was a 5-1 run. So they closed it out 15-9. Gravity, when it worked, it looked so beautiful. But as you mentioned, maybe just a little bit of lack of legs at the end. Yakka were more clinical, more ruthless in the elements here. And for the first time ever, the women from Noisy-le-Sec in France are in a European final against the juggernaut looking for the three-peat. CUSB shout. Oh man, finals day is already shaping up to be an absolute monster, Ali.
I mean, it's too early to call. I think, me personally, who necessarily the favourites are for that game, because Yakka have been looking so strong all weekend. But then again, so have Shout, and we will have to wait and see until tomorrow. I'm just going to try and find the time of the final, and the internet is being slow. Do you know off the top of your head, Benji?
Oh, as in which finals?
Or when?
Which finals are when? Ah, yes, this would be something that would be good to know, wouldn't it? The mixed finals at 10:40. I know that I've worked out that much. Ultimate Central is can be difficult to pass at times. And 20 to 3 local time, 14:40.
Is the women's final.
Is the women's final.
That, I think, is going to be on pitch 2, because the quality of these pitches are not necessarily going to be the best.
It's struggling in the weather. You can see not just on the pitch, but on the sideline as well. Moving it to the AstroTurf pitch, the quality is a little bit more secure. And also there's the nice bar area behind that everyone can sit in and watch as well. So it's double semi-final disappointment for the Irish as well, with Ranelagh going down 15-13 to Cusp-Le-Fota. So with potential for, although not the finals burst they would have liked, 2 bronze medals potentially to play for the Irish tomorrow. If they could come back with that, that would be a very well-earned haul, I think.
Oh, definitely. It's always good to have some silverware, or oh, for God's sake, how long has that been off? Very good to have some silverware, or indeed some bronze. It's a very nice spread, and it's good to see the ultimate kind of powerhouses not necessarily centering in one community, one country, because obviously as a kind of a community, a European community, we want to see everyone across the board getting better and not just one place kind of snaffling all the good players.
And if you want to join the ULTI.TV community as well, you can do so. You can find the link to the Patreon in our YouTube, in the descriptions of all our YouTube videos, where all the footage will remain for free, live and on demand to watch at your leisure. From the Patreon, you can become a member for as little as a few currencies a month, by which I mean a few of your currency rather than picking some currency. You know what I mean. All the way up, so from a basic member all the way up to an ultimate producer like Patrick from madx or Stephen Cameron from Cameron & Co. Architecture. And if everyone who watches enjoys the streams is in a position to contribute, is able to do so, then we continue to bring you more brilliant games like this, at brilliant tournaments like this, give them the coverage that we feel they deserve, and hopefully you agree with us. And even if you can't do that, then the triumvirate of YouTube, the like, subscribe, and give the little bell a hammering, that sort of thing, that goes a long way in helping to helping to grow and feed the almighty YouTube algorithm and stop it suggesting all this unsavory stuff that for some reason it likes. That would be very nice if you could do that for us. Honestly, that algorithm, I don't know who coded it, but it's into some shady stuff.
It's yeah, a maniac. Well, we should not say bad things about YouTube.
No, and you never know if the algorithm might be listening.
We're going to
Should we go and temporarily get try? Maybe see if there's a hookup to some Bruges somewhere.
Oh my God, yes please. Let's go get some waffles. Okay, so thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. Condolences to Gravity and congratulations to Yakka. I've been Ali Thomas, and for Benji Reese and all of our crew, we will see you soon.
ULTI.TV.